Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the G.I. Joe Classified Series Snake Eyes and Timber Alpha Commandos. That might be the longest name I've read on a package so far. This is the new-ish Snake Eyes, which is not the traditional looking Snake Eyes, and he comes with a doggo. And that's basically all there is to it. It's a pretty cool set though. I think a lot of people are going to be pretty interested in it. So let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. This guy stands just about 16 centimeters, a little bit over that, which makes him pretty close to 6 3/8 inches. So he's a little bit short for like the Marvel Legends scaling. I do believe the Joe series is just a little bit smaller, which is a little bit weird because you would think they'd be made to fit together. This is closer to a 1/12 scale figure, but he's still too tall for accuracy, unless he's a really big guy, and I don't think that's supposed to be the case. Anyway, it's a very cool line. Overall, I think most people are pretty happy with the G.I. Joe line. So I guess that's good that they're going to continue to make figures like this. More versions of Snake Eyes is always a good thing. Which leads me to my question of the day. Which version of Snake Eyes is your favorite? I'm actually pretty partial to this one. It's just a little bit too generic for my liking, so I think I'm going to stick with the weird visor thingy that he normally has. Okay, so let's get into the aesthetics on the figure. If you like black plastic, boy have I got a deal for you. Buy this figure. There are some different shades of black, like slightly off black, maybe kind of hint of brownish gray in the straps and the chest harness, but that's about it. Everything else is straight up black plastic. There is some paint on the figure in that logo right there, the G.I. Joe star with the 00, and then also his visor, or his goggles, whatever you want to call it. That's it. There's no more paint on there anywhere. Unless I've missed something, but I don't think I have. Yeah, I don't think so. That's it. So yeah, all black plastic. Lots of texture though, so we'll zoom in again. You can see he's got his sweater texture going on up here with the lines. The pants have a different type of canvasy type texture. Obviously lots of sculpted detail in the harness. The head's basically just smooth, but you see some more detail around the mouth. So you get a lot of the variation just from the sculpt, which is okay. That's a fine thing. But yeah, it's all black plastic. So if you're looking for something that looks super high-end, this isn't it. You could easily throw some different finishes on there, or just some very dark grays or things just to make it pop. A little bit of dry brushing here and there on the harnesses, things like that would definitely go a long way on this guy. But I can't fault him because he is... Well, maybe I can, because here's the thing. Like, I'm not the most knowledgeable person about G.I. Joe, but they did provide this nifty package for us. And he has different finishes, different color for like the mouthpiece and the chest piece and the glove knuckles and things like that. So, I don't know, maybe there could have been a little bit more paint on here and they just figured they could get away with it. But I suspect they can, so I can't fault them too much for that. The aesthetic on this guy, not much to say other than the sculpt is really good, proportions are nice. I'll give his aesthetic an 8 out of 10, even though it's all black, because there's not much they could do. I'm going to do a quick aesthetic on this guy, just because even though he's an accessory, he's kind of a big part of the deal. It's really well done. There's lots of paint in there, it makes him look nice. I like that they got this brownish, tannish gray color mixed in that really sets it off. There's a little bit throughout up top too. His face is really well done, and the alternate face is also really well done. They painted the claws and the paw pads. Very good job on the paint job, so I don't need to rate that, but still, it's a good accessory. So speaking of accessories, let's get into that. We don't have any alternate hands for this guy. He only has the trigger finger / gripping hands, which I guess is okay. I definitely don't prefer to have trigger finger hands on everything he holds, but mostly he's got guns, so that's okay. We do get the one knife though, which does go in the sheath well. We have the pistol with the optional suppressor. The suppressor also works for the Uzi. That's an Uzi, right? Am I losing my mind? Anyway, it works for that as well if you want to do that. Then we also get the, looks more like an MP5, and then some other gun. I don't know what that is, if that's a real gun or not. Maybe that's a G.I. Joe type. No, that almost looks like a, well, it doesn't matter. Anyway, he's got those guns. And then we also do have the Wolf, which is really well done, and I'm going to go through his articulation because he's fairly well articulated for being an accessory. But we do also have an alternate head, which is the coolest thing. And they did a really nice job sculpting and painting that. That looks phenomenal. I love it. Could you bring it to life with an even better paint job? Sure, but they did a damn good job with it. Very cool. So the head's on a double ball peg, and it moves around really well. Really no issues there. It has better range than most actual action figures. I assumed this chest poof, whatever you want to call that, shoulder floof, neck, I guess a neck would be the right thing. I thought that would be on a ball peg, and it kind of feels like it wants to move, but it doesn't really want to move, and I'm afraid to try too hard. But that part doesn't really move too much. Back here we get plenty of range on another ball peg, which is why I thought that one would have had one too. But this one's really well done, so that's cool. The tail has a swivel and a hinge, so you can have it down like that, you can have it up, you can have it straight down. Anything you want to do. You can do sideways if you want to, like if he's jumping sideways. Or you can pose this thing pretty well, so some dynamism. Golly, I can't talk. You have that there. Alright, for the shoulders, they're on ball pegs, so you're not going to get the craziest range out of them, but he is only a doggo, so that's alright. So you can rotate forward and back on that, of course. Then for the elbow, if you want to call it that, you have your hinge and a swivel. Then you have another hinge here at the ankle. And then at the toe, you have another hinge, which will also swivel. So yeah, you can do some decent posing with this dog. It's pretty cool. I know it's a wolf. You have the same joint in the back here. Essentially the same joint here. It's a hinge and a swivel. Another hinge here, and another hinge and swivel here. So it's about as well articulated as you could get. So I'm very, very pleased with that. I don't think they could have done much better. Honestly, like as a Hasbro release, it's not exceptionally expensive or anything. It's good. It's really, really good. So I'm very pleased with that. So as far as accessories go, other than some alternate hands, maybe he doesn't use a sword in this version of him. I don't know. Like I said, not that familiar. But yeah, maybe he could have a sword if he's supposed to. If not, then don't count that. I'll give it a 9 out of 10 though. Doggo is really good. So very happy with the doggo. Everything else is just whatever. It's the same guns we've seen already, basically. Alright, for articulation, the head is on a Marvel Legends style hinge and ball peg combo, but the neck itself is also on a ball peg, which does help. So you can get a little bit more versatility out of that, and you should be able to pose him pretty well. He'll be able to look up, down, you can lean the whole neck side to side, rotation, pretty much everything you want. It would have been better if there was a ball peg in the neck like there is, but then also double ball peg at the neck to head connection. That would have been good. For the shoulders, we have a butterfly joint, which doesn't really want to work going forward. It goes back a little bit, so that's better than nothing. The shoulder hinge itself goes out just shy of horizontal. It's very loose in the rotation. That's not great. This side's even looser. So be careful. I don't know if they're all going to be loose, but some of them are super floppy apparently. So be careful with that, but you do get your full rotation. You get your bicep swivel. Double jointed elbow works just fine. Wrists have a swivel and the vertical hinge on this side. That's good. And a horizontal hinge on this side. Don't like that. Don't like that at all. They should just both be vertical hinges. You can get more done with a vertical hinge than you can with a horizontal hinge. And I know the argument about using a combination of the two to hold like a rifle or something. You can still do better with 2 vertical hinges. I even made a whole video about it. Check it out up there. Alright, so I believe underneath this big vest, which is not removable without actually trying to take it off in a way that it's not intended, I do believe we have the ball peg at the bottom and then the ab crunch in there like the standard Snake Eyes, the regular release, but it's hard for me to say for sure because it's basically useless because of this vest. You're just going to get your rotation out of that and a little bit of leaning maybe. It's very limited. We have the hinged hips, the hinged ball pegged hips. I cannot speak anymore. Anyway, they drop down. Do they work better when they drop down? That's with it up. No, you can't even do them out to the side when they drop down, so it's just a floppy joint there. That's not good. How about going forward? With them up, that's the range you get when you drop them down. That's the range you get. Yeah, the hinge is still basically pointless. It doesn't really serve much of a purpose. Yeah, not good, and it's floppy. It doesn't hold in place. I think they should just nix that or get better at it, but it's not helpful at this point. We just saw in the Iron Man figure, the modular Iron Man, you don't need all this bullshit to make it work. You can just make it function properly. And you put the peg farther out into the hip, and it works. You make sure it's low enough to clear the crotch, and out far enough that when you do this, it doesn't smash into the junk, and you're fine. I don't know why they don't do that. This overcomplicated stuff doesn't make things better most of the time. Alright, so you get a thigh swivel in there as well. They don't go back at all, by the way. Double jointed knees work nicely. We do get a boot swivel down here, which is nice. That's always helpful. When you have an ankle rocker, you can do a swivel and get a proper ankle rocker because there's no ball hinge down here. Going back, we can go all the way. The feet are really loose, by the way, really floppy. So you go all the way back, and going forward, you get no range at all. And now here's something I have to mention about this. These shin pads are glued on pieces. Okay, and when you line up the leg properly, the shin pads tuck in, like they're facing in a little bit, which looks pretty goofy. I don't like that. And they're in the way of the feet. You can't bring the feet far enough forward. So what I'm gonna do is rip them off and reglue them just a little bit higher. These little bits on the strap section might not line up just right, but I'll be able to get much better clearance out of the foot going forward, and I'll be able to just shift them just a little bit. Everything's all black anyway, so it won't be super obvious. But I don't like that the shin pads are going like facing in. They should be right in the center, if anything. And you're saying, well, you can rotate it. You can, but then the feet point out, and I don't want him walking around like that. So I'm going to try to fix that. You could do that too. These are definitely just glued on pieces. I was hoping the whole strap thing would be a separate piece, but it's not. It's just the pad itself. But that's something you might want to fix. So anyway, the articulation on this guy is sloppy and not all that effective, which is unfortunate because he's a ninja. So that kind of sucks. But it'll get the job done for most posing. So I'm going to give it an overall 7 out of 10. Floppy joints is no good. Joints that don't work is no good. This not being separated in any way to allow the torso to pose is no good. Loose feet, non-functional hips, just not pleased with it. But still, it's acceptable. Alright, so final verdict on this guy is going to be, it's basically in line with the other Snake Eyes figure, but he comes with Doggo, and Doggo's really good. Doggo is the star of the show on this one, and Snake Eyes is good enough. So I'm going to give this set, if you want to call it a set, an overall rating of 8 out of 10. It's definitely good enough. Definitely could be better, but I think most people will be satisfied for the most part. So there it is, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, you can give it a thumbs down and let me know why in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.